Hello everyone, myself Assistant Professor Vatsal D. Patel from Civil Engineering Department. Today we are going to discuss about street lighting. So first of all, let us see why there is a need for street lighting. So the main purpose of street lighting is to enable the road user to see accurately the carriageway and the immediate surrounding in darkness. Majority of road accidents are caused in the night and poor lighting is the main cause of accidents. So as we know, if there is not proper street lighting, then we cannot see the road properly. Also, we are not able to see what is in the surroundings. Like there will be a fear that anything can come from surrounding like animals or say vehicle. Also, if there is a bumper on the road or dent on the road, they are also not visible. So, due to all of these reasons, accidents may happen, and during night, poor lighting is the main cause as we are not able to see the full details of the carriageway and surroundings. Now, if we talk about headlights, driving in the night is facilitated by the headlights, but it is not always not possible to depend on headlights. Improved visibility at night by means of artificial lighting lessens the strain on driving and ensures comfort. So, for instance, in city street, if all were to drive with the full headlight on, the glare problem would become acute and severe accident could be caused in city street. Therefore, there is a need to illuminate the carriageway and its immediate surroundings so that the use of headlights can be minimized with better lighting. The speed of traffic generally improves and traffic flow conditions are also improves. Next one is highway lighting. Highway lighting is particularly more important at intersections, bridge site, level crossing and places where there is restriction of traffic to movements. So the rate of highway accidents and fatalities that occur during night driving is considerably higher than during any day driving. Poor night visibility is the one of the main cause of accidents during nights. Also, lighting on rural roads has yet not become common, evidently due to the cost consideration and less number of pedestrians and other slow traffic using the facility at night. Whereas on urban roads, where the density of population is high, road lighting has other advantages like feeling of security and protection. Thus, even though headlights of vehicle may be sufficient for safe night driving, still road lighting may be considered as an added facility to the road user. The main purpose of highway lighting is to reduce the uncertainty of the information. As long as the uncertainty exists, the possible alternative decision cannot be fully evaluated. Now let us move on various factors affecting night visibility. So the first one is amount and distribution of light flux from the lamps. So as you can see in the image, the height of pole, angle of lamp mainly affect the distribution of light on the roadway. If we not maintain proper height and angle, then the full length of road may not be covered by the light coming from the lamp. The light flux given by the lamps mainly affect the illumination of the road. Also, if we not maintain proper distance between two light poles, then the roadway between them may not be lighted properly. Also, time available to perceive and recognize an object dependent on speed of travel and distance of visibility. Discounting glare recovery time. Safety requires PIV and stopping time as a minimum. Perception requires greater time at low levels of illumination. Next one is size of object. So as you can see in the image, the size of object also affect the visibility. Like big vehicle will consume the area of the light coming onto the road, so vehicle driving beside it may be in darkness. So let us take one example to understand this concept. Suppose you are driving a vehicle and suddenly you see an animal is crossing the road. Then the size of that animal mainly affect the visibility distance. Like if the animal is small like dog, then we can come near the animal, then it will be visible to us. Whereas animal like cow can be visible from far away. So the big object can be visible from far away and small object is visible when we came near it. So if we see this in civil engineering term, then the size of the object to be seen ranging from a small object such as brick to the bulk of a large tractor trailer unit. Next is brightness of object and background. So mainly it is contrast between the object and background. Let us take one example to understand it. Suppose you are driving a car or bike in a night, and if proper contrast is not there between object and background, then there are chances that in the darker side of the roadway one person is on bicycle, but due to very less object area, say of bicycle, that person may not be visible to us. So there are chances that we can hit that person because he will be visible to us when we reach very near to him. So brightness of the object and background plays an important role in case of night visibility. Next is reflecting characteristics of the pavement surface. So the amount of light reflected to the observer from the pavement is dependent on angle of incident, position of observer, relating to the incident rays, reflection factor and characteristics of pavement surface. In practice, the angle of incident on the pavement varies from 0 to plus or minus 75 degree from the vertical. The reflection factor, say light reflected or light incident of pavements are very low, usually ranging about 20% for clean concrete to 3 to 10% for the asphalt surface. Smooth and polished surface produce preferential reflection, while rough surface will projection help to diffuse the light and obstruct preferential reflection. Road surfaces which are desirable from ski resistance considerations are not so desirable from lighting considerations. Light colored surfaces, for example concrete, offer good reflection characteristics. So as you can see in the image, the dark pavement 10% of the sunlight will be reflected, whereas in case of cool pavement it reflects 40% of the sunlight. Next is glare on the eyes of the driver. So it depends on level and conditions of illumination, both of which derive from the level and uniformity of pavement brightness. The brightness of the obstacle to be seen will define the amount of glare to the observer. This depends on the source of illumination like location, design and human output of the lighting fixture. stand on the reflection factor and characteristics of the pavement and objects thereon. And the last one is time available to see an object. So if we talk about bumpers on roads, so many times you have also observed that due to contrast of street lighting and road pavement, the bumper is not visible to us. So when we come very near to it, then it may be visible. And sometimes after passing from it, when our vehicle jump, then we are able to know that the bumper is there on the road. So this factor is also meant for night visibility. So from how many distance object is visible to us is mainly affect our time for decision making during driving. Now let us see various definitions. So the first one is luminous flux, which is denoted by phi. So this is the radiant power given by light source and its unit is lumen. Next one is lumen, which is denoted by Lm. This is the SI unit of luminous flux. It is equal to the amount of flux received on the surface area of 1 square meter of sphere when a light source of 1 candle power placed at its center. So lumen is given by candle power into solid angle. So you can see it in the image. Next one is steradian. Steradian is the unit measure of a solid angle. Solid angle is equal to omega. So it is equal to the solid angle subtended at the center of a sphere by unit area of its surface. The whole space surrounding a point subtends a solid. So you can see it in the image. Next one is luminous intensity, which is denoted by capital I. So the luminous flux emitted per unit solid angle is called luminous intensity. So it is given by equation phi divided by omega. So you can see luminous intensity in the image. Next one is candela. It is the unit of luminous intensity. Luminous intensity expressed in candelas is called candle power. Next one is meter candela or say meter candela. It is the normal incident illumination produced by unit candle power at a distance of 1 meter. Next one is illumination, which is denoted by capital E. It is the measure of the amount of light flux which falls on a surface. It is independent of the directions from which the light comes or the size of light sources or their positions. Illumination is same if surface is white or black. So it is given by the equation phi divided by A, and its unit will be lumen per meter square, and 1 lumen per meter square is equal to 1 lux. So you can see all the properties in the image. Next one is luminance or say brightness. The luminous intensity emitted or reflected per unit area of a surface is called luminous. So it is denoted by B and given by equation I divided by A. Next one is glare. So the condition of vision in which there is discomfort or a reduction in the ability to see significant objects or both due to an unsuitable distribution of luminous or to extreme contrast in space or time. Next one is luminaire or say lantern. A house for one or more lamps comprising a body and any reflector, reflector, diffuser or enclosures associated with the lamps. So you can see its arrangement in the figure. And next one is lighting installation. The entire equipment provided for lighting a street section and consists of lanterns, beams of support and the electrical auxiliaries. So next we are going to see distribution of light. The total output of a point light source will naturally radiate uniformly from the point with equal intensity in all directions. It is evident that such light distribution will be insufficient and uneconomical when the purpose is to direct the lights towards a relatively limited area, such as pavement of a street. So, if light is allowed to distribute radially from the source with equal intensity in every direction, the amount of light falling upon a particular point in any plane will vary inversely with the square of the distance of that point from the light source. On the other hand, a good amount of flux may be needed at a particular vertical angle, which may result in the formation of the best bright patch. The redistribution of flux from a source can be achieved by fitting suitable devices which receives the luminous flux and redirect the same in a desired pattern. So there are mainly three types of distribution of light, like glare, vertical distribution of light and lateral distribution of light. So first of all, let us see glare. So the amount of glare present is dependent on brightness of glare source, angle of incidence with respect to the normal line of vision, general level of illumination, area of glare source, distance of glare source from the observer. So the glare from luminaires may be controlled by increasing the height of mountings, shielding the light source, reducing the brightness contrast of the light source. So it is generally seen that light intensity is emitted an angle less than about 70 degree from the downward vertical cannot reach the driver's eye due to shield provided by the roof of the vehicle and so cannot cause glare. All rays above this angle cause glare and it is desirable to limit the intensity above this angle. Second one is vertical distribution of light. So in this first one is cutoff. In cutoff system, the light is reduced as completely and as rapidly as possible above a 70 degree angle with the downward vertical, the main beam being usually at this angle. This system eliminates glare, so you can see it in the image. Second one is non-cutoff or say high angle beam. In non-cutoff of high angle beam system, the peak intensity is at about 80 degree and there is considerable output near the horizontal plane. With this system, a certain amount of glare is inevitable and the modern lighting practice does not favor this system. So you can see it in the image. And third one is semi cutoff or say medium angle beam. The non cutoff medium angle beam system is in between above two systems with a peak intensity directed at an angle of 75 degrees. So you can see it in the image. Now the last one is lateral distribution of light. The distribution of light in the horizontal direction is equally important. It is not enough that the pavement alone is lighted from the aesthetic considerations. The pedestrian footways and the curbs are also need to be adequately lighted. So there are three types of horizontal distribution like symmetrical distribution, axial distribution and non-axial distribution. The symmetrical distribution is useful for pedestrian streets. Axial distribution can be adopted for the central arrangement of the lanterns, and non-axial distribution is useful for beaming most of the light on the carriageway than on the adjacent footways, and can be adopted for the lanterns mounted near the road curbs. So next we are going to see design factors for street lighting. So the first one is contrast. When the brightness of the object is less than that of the background, that is when the objects appear darker than the road surface. So if the brightness of the pavement is increased uniformly, discriminated by silhouette is enhanced. Hence, it is obvious that night visibility on concrete and other light colored pavements are better than on the black top surfaces. Second one is glare. The disturbing influence when viewing a difficult visual task under low brightness condition is known as glare. There are two types of glare: disability glare and discomfort glare. Disability glare occurs from stray lights, which reduces contrast sensitivity and thus producing a loss of visual efficiency. It can be minimized by increasing mounting height, moving the luminaire from the line of sight, and increasing background brightness. Discomfort glares occurs due to eyes discomforts from a bright light source. It can be minimized by reducing luminaire brightness, by increasing mounting height, and by increasing background brightness. Third one is lamps. So you can see lamps which are commonly used for highway lighting in the image. So if we talk about tungsten filament lamps, they are available at low cost, also permit good light control, and available in a wide variety of sizes. Next, the fluorescent light source, or say fluorescent lamps. They are relatively new and are used in limited areas. They have low glare, long life, and relatively high output per watt. But the number of lamps required is high in comparison with the other types because of the low output per lamp. Next one is sodium vapor lamps. The sodium vapor lamps give yellow-orange color, and they are used at hazardous locations like bridges, railroads crossing, sharp curves. It has a relatively high lumen output per watt, being about 2.5 times that of incidents. These are very costly. And the last one is mercury vapor lamps. Mercury vapor lamps also yields high lumen output per watt, about twice that of filament. It yields a bluish white light color, is increasingly used in high level illumination. Fourth one is luminaire distribution of light. To have the best utility of the luminaire or source of light, it is necessary to have proper distribution of light. It should be aimed to achieve the following purposes, like it should cover the pavement between the curbs. It should make prominent the traffic signs and other objects on the road. It should illuminate the pavement and the adjacent area to the extent of about 3 meter to 5 meter beyond the pavement edge. It should produce maximum uniformity pavement brightness. The ISI recommends an average level of illumination of 30 lux on important roads carrying fast traffic and 15 lux on other main roads. Fifth one is lateral placement of lighting poles. The lighting pole should not be installed very close to the pavement edge because in that case the capacity of the roadway is decreased and the free movement of traffic is obstructed. So IRC has specified the following horizontal clearance for the lighting poles like for road with raised curb as in urban area. Minimum 0.3 meter and desirable 0.6 meter from the edge of raised curve, whereas for roads without raised curves as in rural roads, minimum 1.5 meter from the edge of the carriageway subject to minimum 5 meter from the center line of the carriageway. So sixth is height and overhang of mounting. The distribution of light, shadow and the glare effect from street lamps depends also on the mounting height. The glare on eyes from the mounted lights decreases with increase in the height of mounting. Usually mounting height range from 6 to 10 meter. So overhangs on the lighting poles would keep the poles away from the pavement edges but still allow the lamps to be held above the curb or towards the pavement. Next one is spacing of lighting units. So as you can see in the image, the spacing of lighting unit is often influenced by the electrical distribution, poles, property lines, road layout, etc. etc. So the spacing between lamps on straight road is about 3 to 5 times the mounting height. For sharp curves, the spacing between the lamp is closer for better visibility conditions. Next is design factor for street lighting, which include lighting layouts. So the first one is single side lighting. So you can see layout of it in the image. Single side lighting is economical to install, but it is suitable only for narrow road. Second one is both side lighting opposite. So you can see its layout in the image. Next one is both side lighting staggered. So you can see its layout in the image. And the last one is central lighting. So you can see layout of it in the image. So for wider roads with 3 or more lanes, the opposite system or staggered system or central system is adopted. Special care should be taken while locating the lights on curves. Lights are installed at closer spacing on curves than on straights. The lights are located on the outer side of the curves to provide better visibility. At vertical summit curves, lights should be installed at close intervals near the summit. At intersections, due to potential conflicts of vehicle and pedestrian traffic, more illumination is required. Let us move on to our next topic, which is design of street lighting system. So for various type of luminaire distribution, the utilization coefficient charts are available for determination of average lux of intensity over the roadway surface when lamp lumen mounting height, width of pavement and spacing between lighting poles are known. So here you can see utilization coefficient chart. The following relationship is used for computations. So spacing between lanterns is given by the equation lamp lumen into coefficient of utilization into maintenance factor divided by average loss into width of road in meter. Let us see benefits of highway lighting. So due to proper street lighting, the police can do better patrol during night and their job becomes easier and more manageable. Increase in business in city or downtown RS during night which would otherwise have been totally not accepted. The architects and town planners have found lighting to be a major source for beautification of their projects. Also, due to good street lighting, there is a considerable reduction in accident rate during night. The illegal action and antisocial activities on the roads are certainly discouraged by the improved lighting techniques and it gives a pleasant atmosphere during night. So here I end my session. Thank you all of you.